What's up, you guys? Titty Striker here, and the UFC is back this weekend with UFC 324 headlined by Paddy, Pimblett, and Justin Gaethje. And it turns out that Justin Gaethje is the underdog against Paddy Pimblett, and I'm pretty surprised at that. I thought Gaethje, with his skill set and with his experience, would be favored to win, but he's the underdog. So I've decided to make a game plan for Justin Gaethje to beat Paddy Pimblett. I'm not saying he's going to beat Paddy. I'm not saying he's not going to beat Paddy. I'm simply building a game plan for Justin Gaethje, the underdog, to win this fight. But if you are interested in seeing my prediction for all the fights on UFC 324, all the fights on the main card, make sure you guys stay tuned because that'll be dropping later this week. But with all that being said, let's get into the keys to victory for Justin Gaethje to beat Paddy Pimblett. And the first key to victory I have for Justin is Paddy Pimblett does have some heavy hands, and we've seen him in his UFC fights bite down on his mouthpiece and just start brawling, and we've seen him put many guys down with his crazy haymakers, and it can be effective when you've got your opponent hurt. But when you're just doing it and you're kind of swinging wildly and maybe you're not setting up your shots quite as well every time, you do leave some openings. And I do believe that Paddy Pimblett was getting cracked a lot because of this against Jared Gordon, against Tony Ferguson. He just sometimes doesn't really set up his shots the best way possible, and that leaves him open to get hit. And the thing with Justin Gaethje is he hits really hard, and he's got some good counter-striking of his own, and he's able to intercept the strikes of his opponents, stay calm, and find those clean shots in the pocket. I think this will work well on Paddy. I feel like sometimes Paddy Pimblett, his defense isn't quite as sharp. He keeps his hands relatively low, keeps his chin up high, and sometimes he doesn't really set up his shots the best way possible. He gets away with a lot of things because he's not fighting the cream of the crop of strikers in the world. But I do feel like a striker like Justin Gaethje can make him pay and will hurt him really bad if he applies this in his game plan. But moving on to another key territory I have for Justin Gaethje, and that's going to be Justin Gaethje has an incredible jab. He really demonstrated it really well against Rafael Fiziev in the third round of their first fight. He was having a very competitive fight with Fiziev up until the third round, but then once he really started to find his jab, he was able to set up his shots and really blind Fiziev a lot better than he was in the first and second rounds, and he was landing the cleanest shots, and he busted Rafael Fiziev's face up. And I do believe that if he finds his jab early on in this fight against Paddy, I think he'll have a lot of success and he'll be able to implement a lot of damage on Paddy Pimblett. Paddy doesn't really move his head too well, so a good way to find him early is to line him up with that jab and then come back over the top with a right hand or follow up with a left hook and set up your combinations with the jab and introduce a threat early on so Paddy can respect you, and that way you can open up your offense a lot faster. Justin Gaethje has some very fast and powerful low kicks that he also sets up really well, and he's been able to use them in the past to really limit the movement of his opponents. Even Khabib Nurmagomedov was struggling with his footwork whenever Justin Gaethje was able to land those leg kicks on him. And against Paddy, a guy who is going to be kicking a lot, a guy who has really solid kicks, I do feel like it's going to be a good move to target the legs, so that way those legs are going to get a little bit heavier. Those legs are not going to be quite as fast and as snappy as they would be if you weren't kicking them. So I do believe Gaethje can take away the kicks and movement of Paddy Pimblett by using leg kicks of his own, damage those legs, weaken those legs, so that way it's not going to be as effective once he does start to use them.
Yeah. Got lazy?
No. Take 10% off your shots. You're trying to kill him.
Okay.
Pop him with good, clean shots. Okay?
He's got to pop Paddy with some good, clean shots. Sometimes Justin Gaethje, he knows he's powerful, but he will still swing really wide and hard shots, and I feel like that's not necessary when you're a guy like Justin Gaethje. He can put a lot of people out with half of that power that he throws. So I feel like not every shot needs to be extremely powerful, and also doesn't need to be extremely wide. Shorten that technique, shorten those hooks up a little bit, keep it tighter, make it snappy, make it sharp. And Paddy Pimblett is definitely going to feel like he's definitely there to be hit. And the thing is, we've talked about how he likes to brawl. When he does that, he leaves himself wide open to get countered with some clean, sharp punches. And if Gaethje is able to just shorten those shots a little bit and clean up that technique, I think he will beat Paddy to the target. But the problem is, if he does throw out those wide shots, he leaves himself open to get clipped, because Paddy is going to be swinging in the pocket. He's done it with everybody. Obviously, he's going to be a lot more careful now. But I do believe that Paddy will be looking to land some power shots of his own in the pocket, and that means he'll be like swinging wide shots. So if Gaethje doesn't really tighten the technique of his shot, he could be potentially getting clipped. And with a knockout like the Max Holloway knockout and all the damage that Justin Gaethje has taken, it's not going to take a lot to potentially put Justin Gaethje down. So I do believe that he'll need to keep his technique really clean, make sure he's really sharp, sharper than Paddy. And with this, I think he'll be able to hurt Paddy really, really fast. I mean, we've seen the difference in, some punches that land with the little bit more towards the front of the open palm compared to shots that land with the knuckles. That is a massive difference. And if Gaethje is able to clip Paddy even once with his knuckles, Paddy will definitely be going to sleep. But moving on to the next key territory I have for Justin Gaethje, and that is Paddy Pimblett is a big lightweight. The guy could be a welterweight. He gets up to 200 pounds. Obviously, this is when he's really, really big, but he does still cut quite a bit of weight. You see, he is a big lightweight in there, but if you're able to hit him in the right spots, that weight is going to backfire on him. We've seen it against Tony Ferguson. Tony was stabbing him with clean, straight punches to the body in the first round, and you could see that Paddy did not like those shots, and he didn't really have an answer to the body shots. He couldn't really counter them, and he couldn't really avoid them, so he just had to take them. And by the third round, you could see Paddy was gasping for air. And if that Tony Ferguson had a little bit more juice in the tank, if he was maybe 5 years younger, maybe 4 years younger, I do feel like he could have got Paddy out of there. But that was an aged version of Tony Ferguson. But this Gaethje, I do believe he can inflict a lot of damage. And once he does have Paddy weakened, I think he can get him out of there. So I think Gaethje can definitely attack him to the body, and not only with punches, but Gaethje has some really good kicks too. He's got really good kicking dexterity already, so I think the front kicks to the body will be there. And also Paddy Pimblett does like to fight out of the southpaw stance, so whenever he does go to the southpaw stance, blast him with that right kick to the body. Gaethje has a really nice right kick against southpaws, and also you can use that to condition Paddy to block the kicks to the body and block the body shots to open up head strikes. Gaethje has a really, really sneaky head kick whenever he's facing southpaws, and I do believe this will be effective against Paddy, who already keeps his hands kind of by his waist. So now you're going to be blasting him to the body, so those hands are basically going to be glued to his body, and the head kicks will be there, the punches to the face will be there. So definitely invest in the body, slow him down early, and once you start to see him fade, that's when you really turn the heater on. But moving on to another key territory I have for Justin Gaethje, and that's going to be Justin Gaethje has a habit of dipping or rolling under shots quite low. Like, he'll bend by the waist and just drop his head down. He'll keep his guard up, but he's still vulnerable to potentially getting flying kneed or uppercutted or front kicked or just kicked in the face. Whenever he does do that, Fiziev nearly caught him clean. A couple times he landed, but it wasn't quite clean. And also, that's how Max Holloway broke his nose. He threw a spinning back kick, and Justin Gaethje ducked his head right into that, and that broke his nose, potentially changing the course of that fight because he couldn't really breathe out of his nose. So that altered the fight. But Gaethje has to be cautious of this. I'm not saying he should completely stop that, because I do feel like it does help him whenever he is in the pocket defensively. He can, punch Paddy in the face and then like roll under some big hooks that Paddy is going to be coming back with. But also offensively, Justin Gaethje is able to bait out certain shots like he did against Fiziev. Like he was able to bait out an uppercut and then roll his head to the other opposite side and come back with an uppercut that floored Rafael Fiziev. So I do believe that Gaethje does have a good understanding of this tactic. I feel like it shouldn't be overused. Like whenever Paddy goes for an attack, I don't think Gaethje should always be using that. Defensively, I do feel like he should mix it up. And whenever he's closer to Paddy, like when he's in a clinch range or in a boxing range, I think that is a little bit more appropriate. But when it is a kicking range, I do feel like that is a lot more dangerous for Justin Gaethje. So use it in succession and definitely limit the use of that dipping head movement. But moving on to another key to victory for Justin Gaethje, and that is
how many feints should you do for every time you actually commit? Hey? 3 to 1? Yeah. So like some of the best fighters in the world are on about 5 to 1. But the very best fighters, if you follow the pattern, the very best fighters in the world, the ratio goes up. It goes up, and it's more around 7 or 8. That means like the best fighters in the world, the 1% of the elite are feinting 7 to 8 times before they actually do a hit.
That was Israel Adesanya's head coach, Eugene Behrman, talking about how the best fighters in the world, they feint 7 to 8 times before they actually commit to an attack. And Justin Gaethje, like, he's a world-class fighter. He feints a lot, but there are some times where he doesn't, and that does put him in trouble. And against Paddy, a guy who's going to be trigger-happy, that can be dangerous, especially when you consider his heavy hands and also the fact that he could potentially be going for takedowns whenever Gaethje doesn't really set something up and he kind of telegraphs it, and he just throws it out there, and then that could put him in bad position. So I think to beat Paddy Pimblett, Justin Gaethje is absolutely going to be needing to set up all of his attacks. But moving on to the last key territory I have for Justin Gaethje, and that is so I do believe that Paddy Pimblett will eventually try to get the fight down to the ground. He's got incredible jiu-jitsu, and it would be pretty odd if he didn't try to use that to his advantage to win his first potential world title. And I think one area where Paddy is really strong on the ground is when he has his opponent's back. I mean, he was able to completely butcher Michael Chandler and eventually stop the fight because of the back control. It started from controlling the back to eventually moving to controlling him from full mount, where he can just finish you with his ground and pound, but he can also submit you with his rear naked chokes. He's very slick, and essentially what Gaethje has to do is whenever he is defending the takedowns, he's got to face Paddy. He's got to make sure he's digging those underhooks and not roll to his back or turn his back over, because Paddy can submit Gaethje really, really fast. Obviously, he can submit him, from his other chokes, but Gaethje's not going to be looking to fall into a takedown like Bobby Green did, where he kind of went for a single or double leg takedown, and Paddy just choked him out with I believe it was at first Paddy tried to get a guillotine, but then he eventually got him with a triangle. So I don't think Justin Gaethje will go for that. So I think the biggest threat to Gaethje is to give up his back and potentially have Paddy submit him. So it's really crucial that he doesn't do that. I mean, even if he falls to his guard, that'd be a lot better than giving your back up to someone like Paddy Pimblett. But that is it for my keys to victory for how Justin Gaethje beats Paddy Pimblett. Obviously, he's going to need to do a lot more. But let me know your thoughts down below. Do you think Justin Gaethje can beat Paddy Pimblett, and should he be the underdog? But thank you guys for watching. God bless. Make sure you guys like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.